Archana Javeri is an actor known for her roles in Tamil and Telugu film industry. She's also a stylist and fashion model and has an active Instagram and Twitter account. Next is Deepika Lalwani. Deepika is a certified fitness coach, yoga trainer, nutritionist, and hypnotherapist. And she talks about meal plans, exercise routines, nutrition, and wellness related topics to her 28,000 plus followers on social media, primarily on Instagram. Next is Mansi Zaveri. She is the founder and CEO of India's most trusted discovery platform for parenting and childcare called kidstoppress.com. It boasts a digital reach of 5 million users per month. Shilpa Arora comes from a background of PR and corporate communications where she spent more than a decade. But she chose to start her own blog where she shares insights about lifestyle, travel, food, and fashion on chiklifebite.com. Sudeep Majumdar is the lone marketer and communication specialist on this panel. He has a 2 decades experience in both traditional and digital channels and has delivered campaigns that have yielded quantifiable and proven results. Now Sudeep is the co-founder and CEO of Zefmo Media, where he's at the forefront of many innovative brand marketing and communication strategies. Tanya Khanijao is an Indian travel blogger, vlogger, travel filmmaker, and solo traveler who has a YouTube channel under the same name. And she creates content that reaches hundreds of thousands of people. So without any further delay, I'll ask Neil to take this panel forward and kickstart the discussion. Neil?
Thank you so much, Varun, for the introduction. Hi guys, I'm looking forward to the panel and you guys can expect some really good questions and I'm more excited to know your insights and how the influencer marketing has evolved in recent times. So my first question would be I feel that this question can be answered by Tanya, Archana, Shilpa and Deepika. So we can start one by one, but the question is it's very simple since the overall title of this whole panel is deep dive into influencer marketing. What does it take to have a sustained base of followers and influencers? How do you create this influence? And are there any parameters or it just happens with time? So I would like to understand your experience with respect to content creation and how you are calling yourself an influencer today. And let's start with Tanya. And Tanya is also the only YouTuber in the panel, so she might be able to add another perspective of a different platform. So let's see how that goes. Tanya, are you here?
Yeah, so should we start one by one?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, so I think the first step to becoming an influencer and gaining a following is whether or not you can provide some kind of value to an audience. So in my case specifically, because I make travel videos, so that ultimately turns into the value that I provide to my audience, because if there's an audience which is interested in travel, they'd look up for videos and they'll eventually find me. So I think the first important aspect of it is whether or not you can provide some kind of consistent value, and from that value, what kind of engagement do you have, or what kind of engagement do you develop with your audience? Because once your audience starts discovering you, you also have to ensure that apart from value, you're also consistently engaging with your audience and delivering on the promise that you started off with to begin with, that okay, if I'm providing travel videos to you, then we will consistently keep providing these kind of videos. And in the mix, you can also add videos or content which you are inspired by or you think can help your audience in any way. In my opinion, at least, having a consistent audience only comes from A, providing value, and secondly, being consistent and engaged with your audience.
Did you face any challenges when you started this? After how many videos did you feel that yes, this can be something which you can continue in long run, and this is something which audience is really appreciating?
Okay, so I think for me personally, it took at least 10 videos for me to realize that this is something that I can do in the long run. And that is what I recommend to people also who are starting off on YouTube, that give it at least 5 to 10 videos to begin with, to understand whether or not you're interested in making videos and how your audience is reacting. And even if you don't get a very good initial reaction from your audience, just be consistent. Just learn what value can you continue to provide to an audience and how you feel about making videos to begin with, because it's a process and you can only get good at it with time. So give yourself that time and get better at it with that time that you give yourself.
Correct. I completely agree. Let's move on to Ashna. Ashna creates content related to skin, fitness, fashion. There's lots of variety. So what do you think, Ashna, like according to you, what it takes to, create an influence and create your own audience?
I think it's very important to create a niche for yourself, as to which area you want to influence or inspire people. So, be it beauty, fashion, be it fitness, you find something that actually resonates with you. And, because then you start posting content that's more authentic, and more genuine. And that's what, like, after a couple of posts and videos, that is what kind of connects with your audience. So for me, I think it was very important to find that niche. And I came from the celebrity background, so I already had a good base of followers with me. And I would regularly post about my daily regime, things related to my skincare, beauty, food that I eat. And my followers would want to know more about it. And I started getting a lot of queries as to how should we do this, that. And that's when I realized that, okay, let me start posting content that's more informative, that not only, like a model picture or an actor picture, but something that's more informative, that people can actually gain something out of that video or a post that I'm posting. So yeah, I think it's very important to kind of find that niche and go with that.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you already had a follower base which was following you before you even started taking seriously content creation. But at that point of time, you thought that creating authenticity is also important and creating your own niche. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting.
Grow from there, and if you you want your audience to be engaging enough, I think it's very
correct. Definitely, completely agree. Let's see what Shilpa has to say. So Shilpa, before being an influencer, she had an experience of a decade in PR and corporate communication at Brands End. So it will be interesting to see how and when she decided to start creating content, and finally she is an influencer today. So let's see what Shilpa has to say.
So I think I go back in my PR and corporate communication days. And what I feel is that there's so much to talk about, which you can't talk when you're doing your PR job or you're doing a corporate communications job, because there's a bandwidth that you have. And and that's the story that I wanted to tell the world. So I didn't wanted to obviously I wanted to create my own niche, but there was so much that is there in the world that you want to tell people, and hence I started the blog, which was talking about fashion, lifestyle, travel, food, beauty. In fact, the question that you asked is very important, and a lot of budding bloggers ask me about the same thing. कि हमने blog खोल लिया, Instagram खोल लिया. I mean, that is easy. They post pictures, but what happens is that they don't get followers. So a lot of people ask me, how do we get followers? And I echo Tanya's thought on the same, wherein if you don't share content which adds value to someone's life, then it's of no use. No one will come to your page to look at your hair, skin, eyes, etc. They would ultimately want some value that goes in their life. Could be about a lipstick that you're talking about, or could be about travel or a destination or a hotel chain, etc. that you're talking about. So I think if you have the right value addition if you can make that kind of value in someone's life, then you're good to go. Then that's the reason why people will follow you. And hence I wanted to experiment, and hence I talk about a lot of other things because they're all interrelated. When someone wants to go out to dine in a restaurant, pre-COVID days, they would obviously dress up, that is fashion. They would drive a car, that is lifestyle. They would eat, that is food. So everything is so interrelated. You can't be, and hence that's the reason why I didn't want to be confined to one. And that's what the followers also come up to me and appreciate me about.
Interesting. Like, I feel value addition is at the core of who at the core of being an influencer or not being an influencer, that if you want to gain your followers, why would they press a follow button if they are not getting anything out of it? So value addition is, I think, at the core of what an influencer needs to do. So Deepika comes from a fitness background. She is a mom. She is into yoga, and she recently won female fitness model in Body Power Fit Factor 2020. So let's see what Deepika feels she has contributed in the fitness landscape, and how she has created her own audience of over 28,000 followers till now. So yeah, Deepika, what do you think? How all this started, and how have you created this follower base?
So I think I definitely agree that you have to be consistent. And
Yeah.
there's one more thing that I would like to add here is that also you have to be honest. So whatever content you're posting out there, it has to relate to yourself first. It has to resonate with yourself first. For instance, if I'm talking about meditation and I myself is a person who runs away from meditation, then somewhere or the other in my content, it is going to reflect that I am lying out there, you know. And if I don't look fit, if I'm not flexible, you know, and I'm posting yoga videos, viewers will be able to judge in a snap of a finger that this person is just pretending, right? So I think consistency ke saath saath honesty is equally important, if you ask me. Plus, I think also something that gets you a lot of engagement and attention is sharing your personal journey. For instance, I took up fitness as a full-time career only after I became a mom, and I had gained like 20 kgs in my pregnancy. And I started it as my own journey. So whenever somebody comes to me, I have a story to share with them. It's not like one fine day I decided, okay, mujhe to exercise videos. It didn't happen overnight. It took time. I entered into this field, and initially, you know, when I came into this field, there was nothing called as a social media influencer. This is a very new recent term. So then you have to start understanding from there. And then I think one more point to always keep in mind is that social media is always evolving. For example, just now, sometime back we were discussing that some apps are going to go out of picture now. So you have to keep evolving. You have to understand that, okay, right now my niche is there, but what if something strange, like today we're living in a world of COVID. Everything is different all of a sudden. So I think it helps to have a backup in mind, and also to be able to evolve quickly when something like this happens. So for instance, when COVID started, I think there was an increased demand of home workout videos. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to say, that you have to keep evolving.
Correct. You need to make sure that you're following the trend, and whenever there is a demand of a particular sort of content, you are quick to that, and you're quickly catering to the audience which is demanding the content. Completely agree. So I feel the conclusion which I got from this question was that you need to be authentic, you need to be honest, consistency is important, and obviously value addition should be at the core whenever you start this journey. And with time, if all these parameters are followed, one can definitely expect growth in terms of the numbers of followers they are having. True. So I will, though this might not be directly related to Simansi, but I am really interested to know how she has created her own audience for Kidstop Press, and it's a very particular audience which, you know, Kidstop Press is targeting. So I'm pretty sure that you must have also your loyal customer base, but at a different platform, not on, say, Instagram or YouTube. But that is also, say, a similar journey, but in a different manner. So what do you think, how it all started, and what are the key principles which you had in mind?
Right. So, you know, I actually started Kidstop Press at a time when the influencer model did not even exist. That's like a much later. I started actually, which is like about 7 or 8 years ago, when the blogger model was very, very popular, right? And I was very clear that, you know, I was focusing on a very, very strong niche, which is parenting. And it started very clearly when my kids were very young, but I realized very soon that this is not a sustainable model. And I wasn't looking at, you know, sharing too many secrets or too much about my day-to-day life and putting it out there, because it wasn't such a big thing in the last, barring the last 2 or 3 years where we become extremely active and inhibitions have shed and we're now okay to even dance in front of a video and let thousands and millions of people watch us, right? But that wasn't the case. Also, in the influencer model, what happens is you are the property, right? You are the talent. When you are talking of the parenting space, it is not only about I, me, myself. It also involves children. And I wanted to be of a very strict policy that my kids have not taken part in this initiative that I want to be part of. While a lot of parenting platforms, parenting influencers, they all put their kids out there, but that wasn't my agenda. They're absolutely privy to their sort of privacy. And I was very clear that I do not want to keep that as the base of my platform. So honestly, when I started, I was very clear that I don't want to build my platform on a rented audience, which could be TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, any of these, because you don't own your audience.
Yeah.
Also, the vision was very clearly, Neil, that I want to build a platform that I can scale up. So today we've also launched online courses. We've written our first book. We've published surveys. We are even creating our own merchandise. We're probably the only platform in the parenting space to be doing all of that, simply because I did not build my platform on a rented audience. I'm not dependent on a Facebook. Like I created 2 lakh on Facebook and then Instagram came along and now I'm up race mein lag gaya ki theek hai abhi Instagram ka following badhao, right? Beach mein everybody was in the race ki abhi TikTok ka following badhao. Like I did not want to get into that rat race. Also, I was building a very strong niche because I'm speaking to somebody who's between 28 to 45. I want their money. I don't want only followers. I'm very clear. I don't know if it's the age that plays or my marketing background that plays, that I want to make sure that I'm monetizing it and I'm not running only after ad deals or sponsorships, because we've all seen what's happened to influencers in the last 3 months, right? Everybody's seen a little bit of a pinch and stuff like that. So we've successfully launched 3 new projects in the space everywhere where our audience is actually buying off us. So to say it very simply, we always create native, and we create over 300 social natives, especially for Kids Talk Press, only on Instagram alone. And we build habit forming content. So every morning, also parents are creatures of habit. And given my background in consumer research and psychology, we build habit forming creative content. We make sure that our users are, we've been consistent. Like Deepika said, we've evolved the product over a period of time. And most importantly, I want to have a non-perishable timeline. And what I mean by that is that there have been so many influencers who've come in the space, who have far younger kids. But today, just because my kids are 11 and 7 does not mean that Kids Talk Press will not advertise for a diaper brand. You know what I'm saying? Because if you are not in that timeline, it doesn't matter. Your platform is within the timeline. So we've invested aggressively as an influencer in understanding our audience and got out of the race very quickly.
Yeah, so I think you were very clear since the beginning that you want to create your own brand and not be dependent on any other platform, because I feel that this audience will always be yours until unless you are doing what you are currently doing. And this is a different sort of power which has its own benefits. This is interesting, and I have an interesting question for the influencers as well, which are here, but I will come to that later on, which might be related to what Mansi has just shared. But I will quickly move on to Shudip right now. So I think Shudip can put some good amount of can provide us some good amount of understanding that how brands think of influencer marketing right now. And I would like to understand that how important is influencer marketing for brands nowadays, and especially in last 2 years. I have personally seen there is a good amount of spike in terms of what brands are usually doing, but how important influencer marketing play an important role in terms of the overall marketing objective of a brand. So it will be great, Shudip, if you can tell us regarding some of your experiences and how the industry is evolving.
Sure, Neil. So let me go back 3 years. At that point in time, brands used to use influencer marketing primarily to provide a push to their overall brand quotient and reputation as such. It was more from the awareness perspective that influencer marketing was being utilized. As the industry has progressed, as it has matured, and as we are still maturing, we are just, it's an industry which is still in its infancy, at least in this part of the world. Brands are increasingly talking about ROI. And now ROI was a domain which we hardly used to talk about 3 years back, but it's a far more collaborative ecosystem right now, wherein it's not a discussion which is only limited between the brand and the agency, but it is also very collaborative, wherein the influencer also plays a very integral part in terms of understanding what the campaign is all about, adding real value. See, it's not a pay-per-use sort of a transaction-oriented relationship that is there between the brands and the influencers. I think gone are those days. At a certain level, especially when it comes to the more serious influencers, this is a world wherein influencers bring in real value. They want to be associated with a certain set of brands. They may even say no to a certain set of brands. It is not a pure commercially driven proposition. And therefore, in this ecosystem, there is synergy. And this synergy is only going to rise as we go ahead. So ROI as a concept is here to stay. It is not going to vanish. That's number one. The industry is going to get more collaborative for sure, wherein the influencer will play an active role in terms of understanding and driving the campaign along with the brand and the agency. And finally, with the influencer will lie the final decision to go ahead with a certain brand or not. It is not something which is going to be purely driven by commercials. Yeah, commercials are going to be important, but increasingly the industry is also maturing, and it's good to look at the industry evolve in a certain direction. I think that is happening. And the level of transparency that is coming into the picture, that is also very heartening. What I will definitely like to add at this point in time is that please don't remain dependent on one platform to take you to the next level. You have to base yourself across multiple platforms. It is ultimately your brand which is at stake. So please put in that extra amount of effort to create your unique positioning. You will have to ride the wave as and when a social media theme or topic becomes viral. There's no harm in doing that. It's of course topical, but that should be on and off. Ultimately, it is your originality, it is your connect with the audience, which should play a predominant role in connecting with the audience using your content. And spend more time in looking at how content is developed. Of course, that's a luxury I do understand. When you are maturing as an influencer, there is a certain learning curve which you have to go through. But once you have reached a certain, what I would say, momentum, then obviously you can afford to slow down in terms of the amount of content that you're churning out on a regular basis.
This is really insightful, and I completely agree that it needs to be more collaborative effect, and definitely brands are looking for more ROI based campaigns and to understand their objective so that influencer can also be aligned accordingly and not just post about it, just like that. Completely agree to this. So my next question would be to Tanya. And this question will also be valid to other influencers as well, but I would like to start with Tanya. I need to understand that there is lots of, like, the number of influencers which has increased in recent times is a huge number. Now you can, if you just tap the category called lifestyle, you can find thousands of influencers on Instagram over there, even 1 million plus subscribers on YouTube. Like initially it was around 200 plus only when I joined the industry, but right now it is in thousands, like Indian creators with over 1 million plus subscribers. So the variety for brands and the kind of competition which influencers are also facing with similar sort of content is much more right now as compared to what it was saying last year. So how, as a content creator, you make sure that you are still adding some uniqueness to your content? If there are 100 other content creators who are creating similar content, you are building that trust and connection with your audience, because at the end of the day, a viewer cannot stay connected with hundreds of influencers. A viewer might have 4 or maybe 10 influencers with whom they are, they trust, or maybe they are connected to. So what exactly goes when it comes to creating content, and how do you usually decide that how to face these challenges and move ahead with this? I'm asking this question to Tanya as well, because since she's a YouTuber as well, and she's into travel genre, and we have lots of travel influencers on Instagram, but on YouTube it was slightly new as well. And how Tanya started this and how she faced these challenges, I would love to know that.
Okay, so in the course of this conversation that we've been having, even some of the other answers that we've received have been brilliant. I absolutely agree with everybody that you have to be authentic, consistent, honest, think of your niche. And I especially loved Shudeep and Mansi's answer about diversification and about how you should have other means of income also instead of just depending on your audience. But when it comes to building an audience and standing out, I think one thing I love about YouTube particularly is that it has the word you in it, and what that means is that you are at the forefront of your own brand and you are putting your own thoughts out there, and everybody has a unique way of operating. If you start off your channel by maybe copying some idea, or you start off your channel by taking inspiration from somebody, that is well and good. Everybody is allowed to be inspired from 10 different mediums of information, whichever it is that they follow. But at the end of the day, you have to provide some unique perspective, which is yours. Sorry for abusing the word unique over here, but that is what YouTube stands for. And I think when I started off, I also had the similar challenge. There were a lot of travel bloggers, a lot of travel influencers on Instagram, particularly, who were posting beautiful pictures. But when it came to YouTube, I gradually with time realized, although I did start with the idea of vlogging because I had seen at least a few creators, but when I started, I realized that I will have to provide my own unique perspective. So when I started editing my videos, they always had my opinions, my thoughts, how I thought of a different destination, how I planned my destinations, how I enjoyed those destinations. So my videos are very unique to me in the sense that I always share my opinions and how I feel about places. And that is how I always portray my videos. So it was a journey, of course, and I realized along that journey that I have to add my own unique perspective to it. And that is how I also noticed that my audience started growing with me, because they also started liking the style of videos that I was editing out and the kind of content that I was creating. And now today I can say with conviction that if somebody comes on my YouTube channel and views one of my videos, they would know that, oh, this is a Tanya Kanejo video. And that is how you kind of create your own set of skills, your own set of, attributes that people can identify you with. So I think that is the best medium or best way of growing consistently. You may get that one famous video of yours that suddenly blows out, but be consistent with your audience and try developing that skill within yourself also, that how do you put your own opinions, your thoughts out there in the way which you want to put them out there.
I completely agree. And YouTube also provides a content creator direct access to millions of viewers like overnight. Whereas what Mansi did, though it was a different idea, but it had its own challenges because you have to slowly build your audience. Whereas if you are genuinely adding value to your audience, if you are genuinely different, you can achieve those numbers of millions of subscribers or millions of views with YouTube at any span of time. And there is basically you get a database of global audience when you create a YouTube channel, and it depends upon your content that how you are planning to reach out to them and make sure that they like your content. So it's interesting to understand your YouTube journey and how you found the gap in the market, that there is some need of pure authentic content on travel on YouTube India, and you immediately started creating content, and finally you are quite successful in this niche. So my next question will be it will be the same question but for Ashna, since she was anyway a famous celebrity and she decided that now it's time to create good content on Instagram, and let's see how that goes. I would like to understand that now, do you see that people recognize you as an influencer or as an actress, and where do you see yourself in an year's time? Do you want to take this to another level, or this is still a secondary thing for you apart from what you are anyway doing in South India?
So to answer to your first question, there's obviously a shift from when I used to only post pictures. That is my initial days of my Instagram, and I used to only post pictures and not as an influencer, but more as a celebrity of what I'm doing, or as a model. The kind of engagement or the kind of comments that I used to get were very different, as opposed to in the recent months when I've been posting more informative content, things that people can actually benefit from. The kind of interaction and engagement I'm getting is again very different, and it's again with the same kind of followers. So they want to know more about say if it's my skincare routine, then how do I do it, and what are the products that we can buy. Say if it's my something related to my fitness, they want to know more about how they can benefit from it. So definitely when you create, I mean, for me, there definitely has been a shift when I've started creating more informative content, for sure. And the answer to your second question, I mean, it's been amazing. In the recent, I think it's been a year and a half that I've taken this up more seriously, and it's a great platform, and I definitely see it growing in the next couple of years. So I would say it's definitely at par with my acting job. I mean, for sure, it wouldn't take a second place. Yeah.
Being a celebrity and also an influencer. So what exactly is different when you connect with your audience? Is there anything which you like about being an influencer which was earlier missing when you were a celebrity, the kind of connection you had with your audience? Did you see any change?
For sure, I saw a drastic change. I mean, right now it's more meaningful. Earlier they were just pictures of me, or standing somewhere or sitting somewhere. But right now my content is different. I post videos of different things. My images, they all have some kind of information, right? So it's more meaningful, as I said before, and it's great because now when I see my audience engaging more with me, and they want to know more from what as to what I'm doing with my daily routine, it does give some I mean, definitely I think it's much better now, for sure.
Neil, if I can quickly come here on what Ashna has just shared. There are three categories, and these three categories are very, very important when it comes to having a conversation with brands for various collaborations. Firstly, you have the true breed of influencers who have matured over a period of time, and they have become influencers in their own right. Then you have celebrities, and I need not even get into the definition of celebrities. And then you have celebrities who are also influencers. Third category is really, really an interesting category, and the kind of traction that we are witnessing from the brand side towards celebrities who are also influencers is phenomenal. And that is something that I feel that as a trend will continue for many, many years to come. It is not very easy for an influencer to become a celebrity, though we have started to see that shift as well. And there are a bunch of those in the universe that exists at this point in time. But the journey of becoming an influencer for a celebrity is a relatively shorter one. And that is something that as an agency, as consultants, we often have that conversation with multiple celebrities who haven't really taken up to the platform, or who have taken up on the platform, taken up to various platforms, but are not exploiting it to the hilt. And that is where the real opportunity lies.
I would like to add, I would like to add one thing, that I already, when I decided to, get more into this influencer, to become an influencer, I already had a good base of 250,000 followers, because I was an actor. So I didn't have, that hardship of, probably getting more followers or anything. It gave me a very good kickstart, and then things were a lot easier for me, So, I mean, I rightly agree with what Shadeep said right now, for sure.
Even I am completely aligned, and with the thoughts which Shadeep said, that what a celebrity can achieve of being both an influencer and celebrity is much easier. And this is the trend which we can expect in recent times, and brands are also appreciating it.
Neil, so if I may add something, there was a recent campaign that we worked on, which was with a celebrity, where the celebrity also did the campaign and we also did the campaign. And the client had a very interesting take. The client said that the celebrity gets me the eyeballs, but you get me the conversions. I don't know if it resonates with a lot of people here, but largely a lot of celebrities will get a lot of engagement. Oh, you're looking so pretty. Oh, this is happening. Oh, you're so beautiful. How do you raise your child? Whatever. But when they're coming onto my platform, the conversation is or the engagement is very, what am I talking about engagement? I don't know how many influencers here will agree, but that is typically what, I feel like when we are engaging with brands at a much larger level, that's typically what we have experienced. That it's great to get the eyeballs. They may do reruns of the celebrity posting it because they've anyways invested in that celebrity. So when they get that video of the celebrity, they may advertise it. They may do YouTube, Facebook, Google ads, etc. But they're looking at influencers from a pure conversion metrics, which is also a big problem I have with the brand, because hamare liye sab ROI and big charts and the digital agency is like, I don't want to look at Shrudeep's bit of it right now because we work with Refmo, but I'm just saying the influencers have all of the metrics to achieve, but surprisingly the celebrities don't.
I think that's the correct with real people like us. Sorry to add on, but that's where they see the reality check and we are real people.
Yeah, even I feel like celebrities, like brands usually collaborate with celebrities for face value, and they get branding, they get a buzz in the market. But when they have a particular objective and they are expecting some sort of results in terms of traction, conversions, that's the only reason celebrities never use a coupon code for a discount code, because that's not how it works for them. But every influencer usually uses the coupon code, and brands are usually much more successful in operating that. So this is great. My next question would be for Shilpa. Have you had any experience that when you were dealing with a brand and you had to, as Shrudeep mentioned earlier, that now it's a collaborative effort, that brands will be conveying the objective, influencer will have to understand that and create the content accordingly. So have you had any instances? I saw some of your brand collaborations which you have done in the lockdown, and it was quite interesting. So I would like to know that if there is any story which you would like to share.
So I think it's very important to understand what are you promoting. For example, I'll take an instance of a mobile phone brand who had called me and they said, we want to position this phone as a revolutionary phone. And I was at that point of time planning my winter break. So I went to Thailand, and in Pattaya, I shot at a place called Ripley's Believe It or Not with that phone. So, and if you look at that place, there are all different kind of things there, which look very unreal, but they're real. So, and I was able to take that product in the right limelight, and hence the CEO, etc., from the marketing team to the CEO, everyone appreciated that kind of limelight for that product. So it's very important to look at the core values of the product and the positioning, and accordingly create content. For example, I've just done it's a non-branded video, but I wanted to showcase how we make a to-do list which never gets ticked off. So there was this reality check that I did of my own self, of what are the kind of things that I wanted to do, but what I did in reality. So for example, I wanted to exercise, but what I end up doing is watching Netflix. I wanted to learn a new skill, but what I ended up with is doing the dishes. So there's a lot of engagement that you need to bring on to position the brand as well as other things.
And this is something, like I have also personally observed that this sort of collaborative effort is definitely required. And earlier it was like, especially it used to happen in other platforms which like TikTok, Hello, like where brands were not directly in touch with the influencer that how they need to create the content. And it was just like, okay, let's go live with 20 influencers or 30 influencers. But now we have observed influencer marketing campaigns, even with say 2 or 3 influencers, where brand is closely in touch with the influencer in deciding together how they can meet their overall objective.
It's a team effort for sure. You have to understand the core values, your own core values as well as the product's core values, and then marry them.
And also add your own unique touch to it also, I think, because once you understand what the brand requires, your audience will only appreciate your take on it. So you also have to present it in a way that looks realistic to your audience.
Completely agree to this. And because brands can only talk about the objective they have, but influencer also needs to maintain their authenticity and their uniqueness and combine that with brands. So this is a common challenge I feel which every influencer faces, the fight between their organic content and how they can create sponsored content as close to as their organic content. So my next question will be for Shudip again, that how is there any criteria, since as I told earlier that there is lots of variety when it comes to influencers. You can find thousands of Instagram or YouTube influencers with over verified profiles, 100K plus profiles. How do you decide that this can be a right suggestion for a brand? And is there any particular matrix which brands looks at and then they are more interested or maybe more inclined towards a particular set of influencer? What is the criteria which goes in the agency when they are recommending to a brand, or even the brand as well?
Sure. So, I'll be a bit blunt here. And the fact of the matter is that reach still remains the predominant criteria for influencers to get selected. And for products which are mass in nature, especially the FMCG category, if you have got a massive following, then obviously those influencers stand out as compared with the rest. What is happening is that things are changing, and they're changing for good. What is changing? Firstly, brands are looking at the right fitment when it comes to an influencer, whether they are the right influencer for the kind of brand genre that really exists out there in the market, and whether they're able to take the brand ethos forward as part of their content creation process. So that is something which is happening. Number two is obviously the engagement rate. It's not a new concept, but the engagement rate is coming to the fore. A lot of celebrities are concentrating on making their engagement score slightly higher, because we know that while the celebrities tend to have a massive base of followers, their engagement rate is very low. Whereas for an influencer, even if the followership is low, the engagement rate tends to be on the higher side. Again, comes back to relatable content that gets created. So, broadly, the lens that any agency utilizes is basically on the fact that whether there is a sizable reach or not, it may not be a massive reach, but there has to be sizable reach. Whether the engagement score is a fairly fair score as per the industry standards or not, whether there's a genre come personality fit with my brand, and finally, the content that gets created, whether that will be suitable to take my messages across. So it's a culmination of all of it. Having said that, it also comes down to the commercials. If I have a certain allocation, a budgetary allocation towards a certain campaign, and if the influencer or the set of influencers are too expensive, obviously we will go in for cheaper celebrities or cheaper influencers who fit the bill. So, broadly, these are the 5 parameters, and I would like to believe that they are universally true and universally applicable to both agencies and influencers.
This is great. So basically what you're trying to say is that reach will always play an important role. And then a secondary aspect can be engagement, where we can figure out what is the engagement ratio when it comes to likes, comments, the audience participation, and then together all these things play an important role in selecting the right influencer.
Correct. So all of those factors are important, but at the end of the day, there has to be reach. And that is why influencer marketing in the first place exists.
I agree. Okay, so we have discussed a lot about brands. Let's, since we have limited time, I will ask few questions regarding influencers' connection with their audience, and have they observed any sort of reaction from their audience where they genuinely felt for the first time that they are creating an impact to their followers. For example, I would like to start with Deepika and understand, since she is creating content related to yoga, fitness, has she genuinely experienced at some point of time that an amazing transformation or anything which has been a life-changing aspect for her followers, and that sort of content which makes her feel that yes, it is genuinely creating an impact to the industry or for her followers? Was there any instance, Deepika, which you would like to share?
Yeah, there have been lots of incidences, but from the very near past, I would pick up the instance of um, Sushant Singh Rajput. So when this incident happened, suddenly, there were lots of people who wanted to have discussions over, how yoga and meditation can help in people who have issues like depression and anxiety. So there was a sudden surge in the demand for such things. And there were news channels who wanted to have me on the panel discussing the same things. So such things, they keep happening, And also when the COVID era started, that time also there was a suddenly, because everybody's homebound, and initially there was a lot of stress around this. How are we going to stay afloat? How are we going to survive? So a lot of stress around that. So again, yoga and meditation. So uh, what I felt is that initially, if people were looking more for a workout which gives a lot of pump, a lot of sweat, suddenly there was a switch to something which calms you down more, which establishes a connection with your deeper self. So, yeah, that is what I experienced.
Question would be for few influencers, and it will be linked to what Mansi said initially, that she thought of building her own brand rather than depending or renting out any of the audiences of YouTube or Instagram. So finally, since say Tanya, Deepika, Shilpa, and Ashna, you guys already are an influencer. So what's next? Do you continue? Do you want to do this, or you eventually want to create something which is independent, or maybe few product line which can make sure that you are generating some sort of revenue from the audience which you have created, and slowly and steadily make sure that you are diverting your audience to a separate platform? Because we have seen some influencers doing the same thing in Western countries. But now, would you like to do this, or what exactly the trajectory for us in next 2 or 4 years?
Neil, I
I
just like
think
to correct that there is no wrong or right. It's just,
Yeah.
of course, social is indispensable. I don't want to be the odd one sticking on saying that, but I just feel that I just voiced it because I thought that all of the social can be used for amplification, but you still need to own your audience in a large way. Also, the category that I work on is very time relevant, right? Like I said, that my kids were not going to be babies forever. So I needed to move on to a platform and not be just an influencer sort of space. So no saying that there's any right or wrong to it.
No, I think
No, that's
just
not.
to add, continue.
No, I was saying that there is nothing wrong in what you did. I think you created a business and you didn't want to create an individual presence that I would like to make myself famous. And it was a business opportunity which you created, and that's completely fine. But I have seen influencers taking this approach of creating their own businesses after some point of time, and they have reached a certain level of followers. So that is why I thought of bringing this question, because independent followers at your own platform is I feel the best power which anyone can own. So that was what I wanted to understand from the influencers. So we can start with Shilpa. So you wanted to say something, Shilpa?
Yeah, so just to add to what Mansi said, I completely agree that we should have our own platform as well. Because a lot of bloggers who start off now ask me if we should have an independent blog. And I tell them that what if Instagram, God forbid, but what if Instagram closes tomorrow? Like there was a day and age when when YouTube was popular, then Facebook became popular, then Instagram. So obviously, it was even when I started with a blog, and then I gradually moved on to other platforms to promote it. And plus, apart from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I also contribute to Zomato and TripAdvisor. So that builds up a profile, but ultimately you have to have your own product. Going forward, I think what I would like to add is change is the only thing constant. So keeping that in mind, you need to experiment with your own content. For example, earlier I was doing a lot of static posts. Going forward, I think there would be the video has come back again in a new avatar altogether. So hence, I'm also experimenting with videos and other things now. Though that's on Instagram, but the blog remains constant and it's got its own viewership.
Good. What do you think, Ashna? Would you like to add to anything regarding creating your own brand, or what exactly do you feel what you will be doing after 2 years when it comes to content creation?
I agree with Shilpa. She said, change is the only thing constant. And, from YouTube, it was Facebook, and then now Instagram, and we had TikTok, but we don't have it now. So it's always, good to have your game plan. What are you going to do after that? I would definitely, and I would love to have my own brand again. It's something very in an area where what I'm preaching my audience, something similar. I would like to create my own brand for sure. So but I think this is something that I see myself doing for next couple of years for sure, because I personally whoever the other influencers that I follow, I personally take a lot from them. So I know that this is definitely going to help a lot of people in near future as well. But along with it, definitely, create a different brand, of yourself for yourself.
So I think Tanya, we lost you for some time, but if you have heard the question, I would like to understand your perspective as well, since you cater to a different audience on YouTube as well. And since I have been working with you, I am familiar that you wanted to start some of your own projects apart from content creation. So can you tell us regarding your plans when it comes to this entire journey of content creation, and what do you plan to achieve from it, say, in next 2 years?
Yeah, so I agree with Mansi in that regard, that you do need to eventually move to other projects that will help you derive some kind of benefit from your audience in the long run, because there may be a timeline attached to the kind of influencing and content creation that you're doing. Although I've seen YouTubers who are on the platform since 10, 20 years, and I do see that is also going to be a big part of whatever it is that I do. And I do really enjoy content creation. So whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's moving on to other platforms and say doing podcasts or other modes of creation, that is something that truly drives me. But at the same time, I also want to do a few more things besides my content creation business. So creating a product line, or creating a place where people can learn something from me, maybe a course, a set of e-courses, or some products which are related to travel, lifestyle, along the lines of that. So I do agree with Mansi in that regard, that if you want to prolong the lifeline of your business, you can consider other modes of other platforms. And I feel like that is the most relevant approach towards taking the next step towards how you can grow your audience and benefit from this that you've created, this platform that you've created for yourself. And besides that, there's also YouTube memberships and Patreon that you can start right away. So I've been considering that also for a while. And for people who don't know what Patreon is, you can get a certain amount from your viewers also for supporting your videos, or for supporting whatever it is that you're doing. And that is in return of something that you can provide your audience. So that is also something that a lot of creators do, even in the West. So I think starting off with something like that makes absolute sense.
And Neil, if I may add, the biggest thing that we are kind of missing out here, and I don't know if everybody agrees here, but I have seen email marketing come back in a very big way. So example, earlier, when I started out, we would look at about 18 to 20% of open rates on our newsletters. And we have a database now of over 500,000 people who subscribe to us. And we saw a huge slump when Facebook was on the rise in terms of email marketing. And now in the last 1.5 years, we again see that wave of 18 to 25% open rates and click rates coming back down to about 10 to 15%. So the reason I mentioned email marketing in a big way is that, like she said today, that whether it is the products we've launched, whether we've got onto, we're the only parenting platform to have our original podcast on JioSaavn, whatever new properties we add, that becomes like such a dedicated funnel piece for us to be communicating, that no matter where we digress or where we kind of expand ourselves, digress would be the wrong word, but if we kind of expand in no matter whichever forms, it will kind of percolate into getting us a ready-made audience already. So it and also just to add that also, all of these guys are talking to a generation which is living on the internet. I'm talking to a generation who is still not living as much on Instagram and stuff. So therefore, while they are an audience who's a paying audience, they typically do not spend about 10 hours of waking up time on the internet, but whatever 2 hours that they are spending, or 2 hours, when I mean internet as like social media, but whatever 2 hours that they're actually spending, they want to come, take it as recreation, transactional, and exit. For them, it's not a way of life. So therefore, for us to be present in multiple mediums where our audience is still very dominant, which is say probably a 30, 35 plus year old audience, it makes a significant amount of difference.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, Varun, the host muted me, but it's fine. So I was just saying that it is interesting to understand that since you are bringing a completely new vertical on the table, and we are in the influencer marketing ecosystem, we are not so familiar to how email marketing or what all other options are available to reach out to a certain sort of audience. So that's definitely insightful. Anyways, I feel like I have already got a nudge from the hosts and we are running out of time. I would
Varun, I guess he is disconnected. Can you just take it forward?
Yeah. So I think we all have to adjourn for PM Modi's speech. But if you have a minute, I would like to ask two very interesting questions from the audiences. One which is relevant to the influencers and one which is very relevant to the marketers, and actually everybody can participate. Yeah. Real quick. So the first question is, all of you have built organic reach on your respective platforms, whether it is YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're operating from. So how were you able to build that kind of massive following, and was it something that took time, or were you able to do it in a very short period of time? So can we start with
I'm sorry,
Ashna
guys.
and...
There was some problem. There was some problem with my laptop got off. But anyways, I wanted to thank Team AdGully for organizing this panel, and I am hoping that there will be some interesting questions from the audience which they want all these panelists to answer. So is there anything? Are there any questions which you would like to ask them?
Yes. So there are two very interesting questions, and then we'll adjourn for the PM's meeting speech. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first question is just that all the influencers on this panel have created a massive organic following on their respective platforms. So how did they create something like this? Was it a very long process, or did it take them a very little time to build that massive following? So we can start with Tanya and go to Ashna, and the same order we can follow.
Though I feel that they have already answered this in our first question. These were the 5 points, but I feel that these guys can summarize it in a better way. So I feel we can start with Tanya.
Maybe a rapid fire we can go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it definitely takes time. Unless that you already have an existing leverage, and give yourself that time, because the more time you stay on the platform and the better content you churn out, you're going to grow as a person. Your audience is going to grow along with you, and also it will be the kind of audience that will respect you more for your knowledge, information, and your journey. So it definitely takes time. For me, it took about 2 years to reach, 2.5 years to reach where I am today, and I think I'll let the others also take the question.
Yeah, so as Tanya said, it definitely takes time, but I think that is a very good period for you to know what is working for you, and then on that create more content, and just be more creative with it, keep posting consistently, regularly, and yeah, just be like very authentic with whatever that is you're creating.
Shilpa or Mansi can go next.
Sure, I can. So I think, yeah, it takes a lot of time. You have to be patient, but you should also experiment with your content, because when you're creating content, you realize what is working for your audience and what is not working for your audience. So be creative, do what your heart says, and be consistent with it, and flexibility and patience.
Deepika or Mansi, you can take it up.
Yeah, I'll just quickly just say that I think there's no shortcut. It's just it's a hard process, especially if you're like a niche like I am. It's really hard. मतलब पहले तो लोगों को समझा why, and you know anybody who gives you ज्ञान on parenting is always like somebody you should stay away from. So it's even tougher in my space. But I think the only way to do it is consistent and everything that everybody said in the first question. And most important is analytics. Just keep ruthlessly looking at your data numbers, understanding, you know, what your audience is liking, what your audience is not liking, and what are your brand non-negotiables, right? Matlab, what are you not going to do, and which are the brands you're definitely not going to work with or for, because that's not your brand voice. I think that is very, very critical.
Deepika, would like to say something?
Yeah, so it definitely takes a lot of time. You have to be patient. There's no shortcut. And also, I think what helps in my field is that you create content which is progressive. So like if you start from a very basic something in yoga and then you build up to a certain intermediate level and slightly higher and higher. So, you know, your audiences are, like Tanya said, your audience, they're able to grow with you. So they have an understanding, okay, today I taught them, let's say just a simple standing tree pose. And then tomorrow I'm telling them to do a certain modification in tree pose. So that way, you know, you will be able to engage more people, and those people will then probably bring in more people for you. That's how you grow.
Thanks. So the next question is something that we discussed before this entire session began. Yeah. And I request Neil also to join in to pitch in for this answer. Yeah. How is banning TikTok going to affect influencers in India? So you can start, Neil, and maybe then we can go with Sudeep and then everybody else. Yeah.
I can just interrupt. I have a hard stop, so I'm going to just exit because I have to log in someplace else. Really sorry. Nice meeting you guys.
All right, Mansi. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I feel that it is definitely going to impact content creators on TikTok because most of them are not active on YouTube or Instagram. Maybe 4 to 5% have built some sort of audience, but the kind of importance and relevance they had on TikTok and the audience which they were reaching out on TikTok is definitely going to be slightly challenging now because there are various sections in our country which are not even using YouTube and Instagram. And that was the only reason TikTok had over 120 plus million active users on a daily basis. Now, this demand, I feel, if TikTok is banned and no other alternative is created immediately, though there are few homegrown brands which are growing, either TikTokers can divert their audience to Instagram or YouTube and create content based on these platforms, because if they were attracting the audience on TikTok, they can definitely attract the audience on Instagram or YouTube, but they will have to tweak their content slightly to cater or maybe, you know, become algorithm friendly for these new social media handles. So it might take, say, 6 months of time, but to reach out to certain standards that yes, they can build their own authentic audience. Yeah, but it will take some time, and it is going to be a huge boom for the brands as well, who used to target influencers or that section of society who was more active on TikTok. Now they will have to find another way to reach out to the same sort of audience via other social media platforms, which will take some time to figure out to both agencies and brands.
Okay, and Sudeep, you have something to share?
So very quickly, let's be very honest about it. There are lots of influencers who are there on TikTok who have completely gotten disheartened because of the fact that they have lost their followers. So that's a fact. Let's keep it there. But the fact of the matter also remains that in the larger national interest, the entire influencer community is also aligned, and they have acknowledged the fact that what has happened is because of certain, interests which are for the greater good in place. Many influencers did shift to YouTube, as I said, during the last couple of months. Because there was something brewing up between a couple of platforms. Having said that, I think it will be back to scratch. It will be back to building your base from the ground level up. So it is not going to be easy. Having said that, there is also no alternate to TikTok at this point in time. Yes, there are homegrown apps. They will continue to evolve, but there is definitely a void, and that is a market opportunity for both the influencers as well as for an app creator to come and bridge that gap.
In a way, I also feel like this is an opportunity for audience to percolate into or start using different platforms as well. I know there's no alternative, but they can definitely start thinking of other social media platforms also, and that may be an opportunity for other social media platforms to come in and cater to that audience.
I agree.
I think adaptation is the key here. Both the influencer as well as the viewers would want to look at different venues now for their source of entertainment. I mean, the influencer from the point of creating content and the viewers from the point of content watching. So I think now there are a lot of India home-based to make India Atmanirbhar. We'll have to figure out the different apps and then see which one works better as a replacement for TikTok. Because ultimately it's India that we're looking at.
Yeah, I
Anybody
think
else?
yeah,
sorry.
very important to have your game plan. As not, and it's a lesson for most of us, most of the influencers, not to rely on any one platform. Always have your game plan on. Always have a backup, and like keep thinking of about your future, and just not get comfortable with that one platform you are on, and have everything, put all your eggs in one basket, if I could say that.
Okay, I think that's everyone. Thank you all for participating in this discussion. It was great.
Thank you, Varun.
Thank you, Neil, for moderating the session. It was a great conversation, I think we had. And I think we can all end this now and listen to PM Modi give his speech about what's to come.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining. And
thank you,
Thank you
Team
so
Anjali.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Guys. We had a fun time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.